Hello everyone, welcome to an analysis of dance, where we discuss the movements and debuts of the Billboard Hot Dance charts in immaculate detail, with in-depth reviews of each debut each week. 3 quiet weeks in a row, and man, this week was a divisive one for me. On one hand, the debuts show a lot of real promise. There's only 3 of them, which means it's a very welcome cooldown week for me, which I'll definitely take. But on the other hand, one of those high debuts didn't even affect the top 10, meaning that we still had the same number 1, and for 2 weeks in a row, that placement was robbed. This means that we currently don't have any real challenges for the number 1 moving forward, and given that the newest Bizarrap volume is definitely not going to chart here, given it already hit Hot Latin and would have easily charted here if it was eligible, yeah, we're kind of in a bad spot with 2023. That number 1 is going to stick around for a while. Charming. And yeah, of course I'm talking about I'm Good Blue by David Guetta and BB Rexa at number 1, which is just not being rotated fast enough in any real category. This means it's actually going to stick around at the top for a very long time. Yay. And that's even with Baby Don't Hurt Me by David Guetta, Anne Marie and Coil Ray at number 2, which is getting huge on streaming and has a decent amount of radio, although it has mostly just stalled out there for the time being. We'll have to see how this really goes moving forward. I mean, I'll take small blessings, at least this doesn't look like it's going to hit the Hot 100 year end, but still, even if I don't like this song, I would take it being number 1 over I'm Good Blue. I'm just saying. And again, this stranded the rest of the top 10, so nothing could really challenge it all. Trustful by Pink is stranded at number 3, as it has huge radio but not really any streaming at all. Bizarrap Music Sessions Volume 53 by Bizarrap and Shakira is stuck at number 4 as the stream starts to really collapse, although I can see it getting a little bit of a boost next week from the newest volume. El Merengue by Marshmello and Manuel Turizo is stuck at number 5, as even if it has decent radio and streaming, it's just not fast enough there. And Hold Me Closer by Elton John and Britney Spears just isn't falling fast enough at number 6, as well as 1035 by Tiesto featuring Tate McRae at number 7. Lovely. Thankfully though, a promising jump came from Miracle by Calvin Harris and Ellie Goulding up to number 8, which is just holding really consistently steady on streaming with some decent airplay. This actually is doing pretty decently for itself, which I definitely can't complain about. And most importantly, it elbowed down Good Loyal Thoughts by Odetari down to number 9, but really when you're relying entirely on streaming with nothing really to support it, that's not remotely surprising. Good riddance. Sadly though, what is gaining on streaming as well as radio up to number 10, our new arrival, Padam Padam by Kylie Minogue. Yeah, this is her first top 10 hits, and I'm not remotely happy that it's this dated pile of junk. And unfortunately, with all the channels embracing this really fast and how well it's doing across the world, this is actually going to stick around and might even gain considerably higher. Yay, this is not good. But on the topic of the top tracks, our big fall-off this week was Rumble by Skrillex, Fred Again, and Floydan. And yes, I'm not really happy that it's gone, but it did hit 20 weeks, it was going to exit naturally anyways, and it's going to be one of the biggest hits of this year. Not complaining at all, it's a fantastic song still. Our falls though were also mostly predictable, with the only real surprise being Maybe You're the Problem by Ava Max down to 36, but really that's not a huge fall, all things considered, it's gonna be fine. Outside of that, you had your continued collapses for Nothing Ever After by Millennium Emotionless and Why down to 46, and Ghosts Again by Depeche Mode really getting rotated out fast on airplay as it falls hard to 44, as well as Side Effects by Becky Hill and Louis Thompson really worryingly underperforming at 37, and Hero by Alan Walker and Sasha Alex Lowe and starting to fall a little bit naturally to 27, as well as Infinity Repeating by Daft Punk featuring Julian Casablancas and The Boys down to 24. Quite frankly, those last 2 have stuck way better than I expected. They might actually be hits. That's kind of interesting. But then that just leaves our 2 debuts from last week that fell pretty considerably, with Wish I Could Forget by Slander, Black Bear and Bring Me the Horizon at 26, and Feel Your Ghost by Tiesto and Mathame at 33. That's it. Wow. I mean, even with that, that's more interesting than our jumps and comebacks, where once again we had barely any, and it just feels really weird this time given we didn't really have any high debuts. Clearly that means that there's some stability going on. I mean, I definitely would take it. I mean, it's very telling that aside from our 1 return for Push Up by Creed to 50, not complaining there, one of our jumps was Call On Me by BB Rexa at 40, and again, I don't expect this one to last. It's not doing great. Thankfully though, it's balanced out by Beggin' by Chris Lake and Aluna up to 21. Okay, seriously, this song's been really damn consistent across its run. It might actually be the 2nd year-end spot for Chris Lake in 2023 and gives Aluna her first ever year-end list spot as a solo artist. Way overdue, guys. But okay, I'm gonna skip non-eligible knockers this week given that I'm really busy in my personal life at the moment and I just don't have time for it. So let's start with something surprising in number 49, Dominoes by Jungle. me that this is what charted it and not Candle Flame? Are you serious? I mean, I'm not remotely surprised. Candle Flame was more of a rap song. It didn't really fit in with the style of the charts. But if it did, it would have been a really consistent hit for them. It's been gaining a lot on streaming recently and definitely would have crossed over to potentially even the year-end list with how well it's doing. But okay, thank God we at least got something from their upcoming album Volcano charting here, even if it is really low. And yeah, goddamn shocker, it's absolutely great. I think what makes Jungle really stick out in the scene is just their raw, straightforward production style that has a lot of really interesting elements to it. The mixes have a ton of personality and really do stand out amongst a lot of bombastic EDM. Their very relaxed indie-tronica touches are very welcome. And in this case, it comes in the horns and some really nice breezy production that gives me a bit of jazz vibes to it. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the Avalanche's 2016 album Wildflower, which is absolutely a compliment to me as that album is fucking great. Combine that with the classic Jungle vocals that really do give this a lot of personality. Yeah, it's another hit for them. I've really missed seeing these guys here, and even if we have gotten a faux Jungle song in Relax My Eyes, if we're gonna get the real deal alongside it, I'm not complaining at all. This is a fantastic song. Check it out. Number 22, See the Light by Swedish House Mafia featuring Fridayy. Honestly, I was expecting that this would debut a lot higher. I mean, aside from Turn on the Lights Again, Swedish House Mafia haven't really released anything in between now and Paradise Again, and Fridayy's been building up a considerable amount of momentum as a very promising R&B artist. I've really liked what he's been doing. So to see them come together for this track was really intriguing to me. And yeah, another great song. I mean, I will admit I'm a very easy sell for Swedish House Mafia's progressive house side, and this just sounds absolutely gorgeous as a result of it. As those synths just float out immaculately against a really heavy drum line with some incredible bass production that really makes it hit hard. But I also think that Fridayy could really do well in this sort of dance groove. He's got the soulful presence that really does work for me on this sort of song. Even if he's covered in layers of vocal effects that I will admit are a bit intense, you could have toned down the reverb a little bit more and this would have been even better. Still, I really like this track. It's another win coming from this trio, and really I do hope this actually sticks around, although given how low it debuted, kind of worrying that it won't. All I'm saying. Still, it's great. Check it out. And finally, number 17, The Lost Soul Down by NBSPLV. Okay, so the memes that this charted were really hilarious and honestly cracked me up when I first saw them. So for context, NBSPLV is a Russian house producer that's been building up a decent amount of momentum, although this is by far his biggest song to date. And interestingly, it's also his first ever release that came out in 2015. He's released over 50 songs and 7 albums since this came out. Why was this the one that blew up when he has so much more material that's more recent than this? Well, that's when you realize that this song blew up on TikTok thanks to fan edits of one of the characters from the newest Spider-Man animated movie called Miguel O'Hara, with this song getting the sped up and slowed down plus reverb treatment as a result of this. Now, this would be even more hilarious if this was a case like CBAT by Hudson Mohawk, where it's an absolutely awful song blowing up for stupid reasons, but actually listening to it, I was really impressed by it. This is actually pretty solid. Yes, you can definitely tell that this is a first release of an artist. It does feel a bit amateurish in its sound, and the mixing isn't great where some of the elements feel a bit dry, especially when you have such satisfying percussion. You get some really nice vocal samples. You could have easily put some reverb on this and it would have sounded even more atmospheric and would have really worked for me, but I won't deny that for deep house it does what it absolutely needs to do, and if you play this at any sort of deep house club, it would fit absolutely well, completely unironically. It's also surprisingly really catchy as well, which for a debut single is a really good sign and really had me interested to check out more from NBSPLV, which is definitely a good sign going forward. I mean, the reasons as to why this chart are hilarious, and really I don't expect this to have much staying power, but still, I was quite impressed by this. Definitely should keep an eye on this guy moving forward. He's still releasing music nowadays. That's really interesting to me. So yeah, it may be the most outright flawed of the songs here, but it's still absolutely great. I would definitely recommend it. And you know what? I like all these songs about the same, so I'm not going to give a worst of the week. It would just feel wrong to do so. Best of the week though is just going to barely edge edge out to Dominoes by Jungle, although any of these songs could be the best of the week in any given mood. They're all really damn good. Next week, that quality is going to go down the drain as there are some releases coming that just do not look good at all and are very likely to cross over. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's all for this episode of Analysis of Dance. See you next time.